What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the WASD and Beyond podcast.
Hot fix.
Take two. It's not a hot fix. Now, you fucked up the last episode. Now you're fucking this episode, bro.
This one's on purpose.
You're a piece of shit. We just had to redo the episode 30 seconds in because I'm a dumbass.
We've wasted about a minute of airtime.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways.
Yeah, come on, man. We're wasting studio time here.
We're in our basements, and you're in an apartment in Grand Rapids.
What are you talking about? No, we're at a studio, man.
No, we're not at a studio.
On, be cool.
I live in a shit box, and you're in a cool little apartment.
I'm waiting for like a little figure to show up behind me in the blur here and just like take me out. I don't know why.
Oh my god. This is a main episode, not a hot fix. But hello, everybody.
Well, they'll know that from the title. We only know that now because you told me.
Oh my god. I am Nick, and this is Evan, and we are the WASD and Beyond podcast.
This is the chaos.
This podcast. I almost said cockcast.
I thought you were about to say God pass.
God damn it. This podcast is proudly sponsored by FINALBOSS and Doc Longy. Thank you to our sponsors. I am wearing the FINALBOSS fucking Manhunt shirt. I'm sure I'll be wearing a Doc Longy shirt in the next episode that we record literally in an hour.
I'm wearing a Destiny shirt, and I don't know why. I don't even play the game.
You don't play the game?
No, I got it, and it fits, and by fits I mean it doesn't show my fucking stomach.
Oh my god! Thank you.
I haven't picked up my sponsor. I haven't picked up my sponsor shirts yet.
Oh, I know. Eric's gonna be like, "What the fuck, dudes?" I know, Eric. We gotta take the pictures. I know.
They're at Nick's house. I'm not there. That's all it is. I do want them though, because my Star Wars shirts are there, and I did like those. I do want those.
Dude, FINALBOSS and Doc Longy. Get with it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Those are the Rogue One shirts.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian ones haven't come in yet, right?
No, not yet.
Okay, I liked them both. I was trying to remember. Yeah, they're really nice.
Good shit. And Doc Longy.
But we're not talking about Star Wars.
MF Doom shirts. Yeah, but let's just keep going because I'm already fucking burnt out. Not burnt out. I'm tired. Work sucked. Hate that fucking job. So
He's a bit buzzed. You gotta give him a break.
Not even buzzed yet. This is my first beer. You're the one fucking slamming a goddamn.
Took a little sip.
Whatever, bro.
It looks worse than it is because of the glass. It
yes,
looks like,
yeah.
it
was the illusion. So.
Yeah, this glass is dangerous.
Get right into it, though.
Right into it, yeah.
Right in. No Keemstar.
I didn't say the news part. Well, now they know.
Anyways, to get right into it. Evan and myself both watched episode 1 of the Halo series. That's what this episode is going to be about. We're really excited to talk about it. The pros, the cons, a bit about the episode. I'm sure at the later half of the episode we will spoil it because there will be a spoiler section. So if you haven't seen it, wouldn't recommend this episode for you. If you don't care and you're curious, give this episode a listen. But I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
So if let's just put that as a blanket now. Like we probably won't spoil anything till maybe the latter half of the episode. But if you don't want to get, because we probably won't remember to remind you again. Because we're not professionals, so we probably won't remember. So if you don't want to know anything, then just stop now. Listen for 15 seconds so we get that sweet view. But don't listen if you don't want to be spoiled or anything later in the line. Even if you're like, well, I'll just wait until they kind of get there. Like, no, because eventually Nick or I will just say something. And I'd hate for somebody to get spoiled because of our stupidity. I don't like people getting spoiled for things.
No, it sucks. But
Noah.
Who called out son? But yeah, let's get into it. We'll start with you. Overall, when it came to the first episode, the premiere of us finally getting a Halo series, something we've all been wanting and waiting for, some of us since we were kids, like myself.
Yeah, you more than I was, because I was pretty young when the games were out.
I mean, I was a little dude when they were first dropping, and Halo 2's guerrilla advertisement showing some live action shit, and I really wanted to see a show or a movie or something along those lines. And
it really made me dark.
Yeah, you looked like the Dark Knight. You put the dark. You put the Batman filter on. Yeah, fucking. But
yeah.
So to finally get it, and this is the premiere. What did you think of the show as a whole?
So as a whole, I liked it.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
also, I'd say, a bit more positive about things like this. I'm a bit more positive when it comes to, even if it's stuff that I have issues with or things that like you have issues with that I know of, I'm usually still a bit more positive because I like stuff like this. I like movies, I like TV, and I like stuff like this where it's a video game TV show or a video game movie and stuff like that. And I more or less liked it. And I was able to, unlike some people, I'm sure that maybe didn't have an easier time of it. I was able to more suspend my knowledge of the games and the lore and what's been set up in there to accept this new, or maybe not new, but different reality when it comes to the universe of Halo. Um, like I told you right when I watched it, Chief has probably spoken more in this episode than he has in all of the games.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Like he talks a lot. Like but it's not like, it's not nonsense, right? He's doing actually what you'd expect him to do that he doesn't do in the games. Because in the games, he's often by himself.
Yeah.
He's often not operating with a team of Spartans. Like that's rare. I think Halo 4 is really the only time where he really operates with a whole other team that he's commanding.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, that's the whole thing, is that he's got 3 people that he's working with. So I liked it, and I liked some of the combat. I mean, really, there's only one big combat scene in this that I can really recall, which is obviously the opener. I liked. Don't necessarily know how I feel about him taking off his helmet. Like first episode anyway. I knew
Right
they were
off the
going
rip.
to. Yeah, like not it's yeah, when Nick says right off the rip, he means more of just in the first episode. It does not happen right at the beginning of the episode. It happens towards the end. But I don't know how I feel about it happening, because then now to me, when I did see that, I kind of felt like you just wanted to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Like you just wanted to get it
Shoehorn.
out of the way. You just wanted to show us that you were going to do it. And it didn't hit as hard, like, because in my head, when I see the actor underneath the helmet, my there was a part of my brain that went, "That's not what he looks like."
That's what happened to me as well.
Like it's cool because his helmet's off and I'm seeing his face and his features, but like at the same time, I'm like, you're not my vision of Chief. Which is not to say that the actor is the problem. I don't think that.
No.
Pablo Schreiber is really good. I think he does a really good job.
Yeah.
But that did not hit me as hard as I thought it would. But overall, I liked the episode. I liked what they are setting up. Definitely a bit different than the games.
Yeah.
Whereas the games really deal with this conflict, this, humanity versus the Covenant, and Chief is the only thing that can stop them, him and him alone. This does not. That is definitely the view of it, because there are several times in the episode where I think a couple different characters say that he's humanity's greatest weapon. He is, this, and this. And in the same mindset, though, they really set up this thing of like, that's true, but that's not necessarily what this series is going to be about, or at least this first season.
Right.
If they get a second one, they really set it up as like he's a machine, but he knows that he's not. He knows he's more than that. He knows he can think for himself. And one thing that I thought of just now is that that'll probably be what we see over the season and over the course of the series itself, if it continues to go, which I hope it does, is him grappling with the fact that he can dictate his own decisions. And honestly, what they'll have to reckon with is that when you let Chief makes his own decisions, he does things better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's a soldier. He's there on the ground. An admiral telling him from a ship or a planet, however many miles away, trying to tell him what to do, doesn't necessarily have the best form of the argument, nor has the experience or the physical knowledge of seeing what's right in front of him.
Means shit to him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's not something that's necessarily unheard of in terms of television or in real life. Whereas in past wars, where it was like people on the ground knew what they were doing, or they had an idea of how to do things, but there was some guy back 100 miles away from the front line trying to tell them what to do, and they were like, that makes no sense. Right? And this is something I think that'll happen in the show, where it's Chief is like, I know what to do because I fight them all the time. So what the hell are you telling me? Because you haven't been out in the fight for the past 25 years since you got the rank of admiral or whatever they are, right?
Right,
He's going
right.
to be like, I know shit. I know what to do because I'm there on the ground. Also, I am stronger, faster, bigger than every other human. Like,
Yeah,
I
I'll
think
crush
I
you.
know what to do. Yeah, I think I know what to do. Like, don't tell me how to do that. So that's kind of my thing. I did like it. I did like it for all of its flaws, which I know that you have some that you'll want to point out as well,
Yeah.
like the new Craig. Um, so yeah, that's what I thought of it. What'd you think?
Uh, I had fun with it. I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen in terms of video game adaptations into television or movies. Um,
Okay,
I
I
feel
would agree.
like they are telling some of the more boring aspects of the universe because no matter them saying it's not based on the games, okay, that's fine, but it's still within the same realm, and you are kind of choosing the more boring political aspects of this entity to talk about, right? And I have no problem seeing some of the political aspects of the UNSC and everything that's involved with that, but
You want to see the fighting,
I yeah, right?
like
And
you want to see the TV detail of what they could pull off with a combat
yes.
mission for
Yes.
Chief,
But I
right?
don't want it to be a popcorn type thing where that's all it is, because at that point this is just a
You're
fucking
just turning your brain
gratuitous
off.
there's a
Yeah,
gratuitous fucking sense of violence throughout the entire thing and no plot. I want the
sure.
violence because what they did show was pretty visceral and I
They did a good
enjoyed for
job
what they showed. I
in
enjoyed
terms
what
of
they
the
showed.
violence, the brutality of it. They did a good job. For other things,
Yes.
like you and I will talk about, not so much. But in terms of the blood and gore,
Look good.
they did a pretty good job. Also,
And
I don't know how I feel. It's a Paramount Plus show, right? So they don't have any sort of rating, right? They can put on whatever they want
yeah, technically,
necessarily.
yeah, I think so.
So a part of me didn't really like a lot of the quick cuts away from things.
No
I feel
point.
like if you're to, I feel like if you're to focus on something like that, which we can talk about. Can I mention the first kill?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that girl, not girl, but like a teenager gets half of her body blown off with a plasma rifle, and you basically just see it enough for them to be like, oh yeah, we did that shit.
Yeah.
But like maybe it wouldn't have been the best use for that specific instance, but maybe during the continuing battle that happens to focus more on the humans that are getting hurt and focus more on what these weapons do to them
Right.
adds a bit more emotion to it. Because you look at like say the Spartans fighting the elites, there's really not a whole lot. Like there's definitely blood and gore that they're able to inflict. Like I don't remember his name, but the other Spartan using the staff
Yeah.
and impaling that one elite, right? Like they're able to deal damage. But when you look at the weapons that the Covenant has fighting regular humans, that almost shows why they're losing the war because one hit from those plasma rifles cuts off your body.
Exactly.
Whereas you're watching Chief with a battle rifle have to break their shield like you would in the games. You have
Right.
to, he has to break down their defenses and then and only then and typically he has to just use a pistol anyway or physically kill them
Yeah.
with his hands or weapon or whatever. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to take away from
No,
that.
you're good. Um I
Like you
thought
were, yeah, you liked the violence to a degree. You thought it was good
I like the
for
action for what we saw, though I will say it is campy looking. The show
CGI heavy.
the show does feel cheap to me. So, you know, there's just something about it that's off in my mind. Some of it looks really, really good, and then some of the practical effects look really, really good. But
That's
then
true.
I'm looking at some other things and aspects, and I'm like, dude, this just looks cheap. It feels cheap. Some of the acting felt off to me, like for campy, and like there's a scene where they're talking about a Covenant ship, and he's like, "It's right there, Chief." And I was like, "No shit, you can see that ship a mile the fuck away." That
Right.
was unnecessary. The CGI is at times abysmal, um,
Also unnecessary for certain
unnecessary.
things like that they don't need to put CGI. Like they just didn't think about like just I don't know have a physical prop of the weapon. Like
There's a scene in which Master Chief throws his rifle down,
and it's a
and
CGI'd rifle.
it just, but it's not it was
It's not greatly
unnecessary.
rendered.
It was terrible. It looked terrible. The games look better than that.
It probably cost them more money to render and do that CGI frame for frame for that rifle being thrown on the ground than it would have if they had just made one and had him toss it.
Correct. So there's that. The Covenant look cool. I can't complain right there. The
They
Zealot
look a
looks
little
really,
thick.
they look chunky, but that's
the
fine.
elites look way more built than they do in the games.
Like, they look
the
chunky, but
the elites in the game, I just played
yeah.
Infinite the other day. They're very tall and lean.
Yeah.
Whereas these elites that we saw, which obviously this could be depending on the timeline, it could be it could be whatever. But like they looked definitely more thicker around the torso. Like
Yeah.
more built, not fat, but more built.
Yeah, I mean they're
Like
bigger and
just
that's cool. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not gonna. A lot of people are already judging it off episode 1, which like a premiere is a big deal, right? Like you're
it is
going to judge something off your first impression. This left me wanting more, but at the same time left me nervous for more
for what you're
because
going to see.
it was fun to watch, and there are good moments of Chief and what's that girl's
Quan,
name? Quan on the ship.
Quan,
There
yeah.
are very good moments right there where I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, could see it. But I don't know if it's gonna be enough, right? So my other problem is the showrunners have come out and said they haven't spent time within the game. They didn't read any of the books,
Oh my god,
and it very much
I didn't
so
know that.
feels, yeah. The show again is not based off the games technically, right? And I get that, but it
But
just really shows that they didn't capture the spirit of what Halo is here, and that
when
is a
you
huge
have
problem of mine.
a series like I hate to do this, I'm going to do it. You're not going to hate me for it, but
The Last of Us?
no.
What?
When Martin Scorsese made The Irishman, he read the book it was based on. He
As you
didn't
should.
he didn't or like Goodfellas. He met with Henry Hill, the guy that the movie is about.
Yeah.
Like and they talked to him, right? They got his story. They read the book, right? They looked at it and said, "Well, what do we want to take from the book and make into a movie and make it a vehicle?" They
Right.
didn't just copy page for page and they didn't just, come up with their own idea. They took what they saw that they could make into a film and make it an emotional film, make it a good film and
Right.
a memorable film and did that. What worries me with what you said is that they've had 6 games, I think, right? To go over and they've had books to go over. They've
Yeah.
had other TV series, I think, like animated ones to go
There was a
over.
one-off animated movie
There
type
was
thing,
like
yeah.
there was a webisodes too. Like I think they
Neil
did a little bit
Blomkamp,
of
dude. Why did they not just have him do his thing?
right. Like that bothers me too because it's just like you need to know the world you are making because guess what? Now that you haven't read it or played them, guess what happens now? When the series is over and people don't like it and Paramount doesn't want to renew it and you have to go to another show, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth and for everybody that watched them and now people don't want to see another remake of it again.
It just feels
Now guess
yeah.
what happens in 10 years when somebody comes along that wants to make another series of Halo but do it right, you're going to be nervous.
They also
'Cause you're
get
going to
told
be
to
like,
fuck off.
yeah, but they're going to be told a lot worse shit by other people. That's for sure. Like
Yeah.
that does bother me.
That's my
That
issue.
just because like it's your job as a fucking showrunner to know what you're talking about.
So okay, but that's what I'm saying though. Like, and that's why I can see the cracks of the show already. Episode
Right.
1,
Yeah, absolutely.
it just feels like there's not enough. There's like no love to what it's being made, and what it's being made from. That is a major issue of mine. I can see it. For them to, I don't care what Kiki Wolfkill said. Like, I understand you're 343. That's great. But you shoehorned in the fucking helmet reveal in episode 1 just to get that seemed like a clout thing to me, man. Like,
well, for a moment that realistically probably didn't warrant him taking off his helmet.
he kept it fucking off. It was a cool scene to a degree.
He kept it off for the rest of the episode for like another 10 minutes, yeah, which I didn't also understand either. Like he is a bit more human in this, and that's weird
That's
because
fine, but the way they're treating John,
mm,
again, the backstory of John and all of that shit. If you're going the backstory, because they're taking the backstory from the book, kind of the Fall of Reach.
yeah,
Okay, like if you're going to do that, just make a series about that and go
yeah.
forward with the video games. There's no point to try to recreate the entirety of Halo and when you don't know Halo.
Yeah, like if you don't know what you're talking about, then stop trying to teach. Like, and that's a tall glass for people who don't play the games, right? To show them to inform them of this lore and this series and this world without it being boring.
Right.
Um,
But
which
they're the ones making it boring.
yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing. Like yeah, I don't think realistically, I don't think it's that important to show this whole conflict of happening between humanity and the UNSC, right?
Absolutely not.
I don't think it's honestly that important. We know it happens in the series. We know that that's like not a precursor, but that's what's going on when the Covenant show up. But when the Covenant show up, everybody just kind of goes, "Stop fighting each other. We have something bigger to
They
focus on.
all
There's a
joined
bigger
the
enemy."
UNSC.
Yeah, because there was
Basically, but that's barely explained up until like a certain point in the books.
and hopefully that's what happens for the next episode that comes out this Thursday. Which
Supposedly,
is
from what I'm hearing from other reviewers who've seen it,
it's
not
not
good.
that yeah.
It gets worse.
Yeah,
Right.
I
So
don't
like
they're trying to make it like you said, they're trying to definitely bring Chief to be more human, but let's look at it honestly, in the games if they had cared to play them, he's not very human. He
he's
can make
lost
his own
that part.
decisions,
Yeah.
but he doesn't give a shit.
No.
Like, and they showed some of that in the first episode, like when he opens up the door and Quan is like staring at him and he just walks over past her and she has to just barely
I
dodge him.
loved that.
That's because he doesn't give a shit if he hurts her. It's not his job. But
He
then
doesn't want
later
to
in
hurt
that
her,
same, he
obviously.
doesn't want to. Yeah, he's not like trying to cause her harm. But his mind is, you're in my way. I'm not going to tell you to move because you probably won't listen. So let me just walk and
Yeah.
you'll move because you're
Exactly.
not going to stand in front of him.
He's a
But then
walking
later
tank.
in that same, yeah, exactly. And like in that same scene, he makes a joke to her later, and I was like, took us how long for Chief to hear like really crack a joke with Cortana, right? Like
Yeah.
he's not a very wise, cracky kind of guy. And that the way and that's not to say that he doesn't make jokes, he does. But the way that this seemed like came off was that he was trying to be her friend, and that's not what Chief is.
Well, the
I just
whole
played Infinite. I started playing it again the other day, and he's telling Echo 216 the mission is the objective,
yeah.
right? So he doesn't care about like even and this is like later in the series, but like that's kind of the point here, isn't it? Is that he still is this way at the newest section or the newest entry of the series, and he was basically that way in Combat Evolved.
Yeah.
And in, yeah, like he doesn't give a shit. Like
He
he knows
does and
what
he
his job
doesn't.
is. He
Like
does and he doesn't,
you
but the
could
way that they're portraying that he does is not the way the Chief actually gives a shit.
no, and you had
Does that make
mentioned
sense?
it does. It does. And again, yeah, cool, defend them, say, well, it's not based off the games. That I don't know what it's based off. You should have just had them in different armor and not called it
Sure.
Halo.
Sure. Yeah, and I'll agree with that, right? Like I totally get it. Like I do not like the idea or not the idea, but I don't like immediately writing off a show after the first episode.
No, I
When
don't
the end of
either.
the series and when the end of the series happens, like or the end of this season happens and they don't renew it if they don't or if they do renew it and people just kind of groan about it, then we can talk about it then and I can be like, I had some cautious optimism when
Yeah.
when I finished the first episode, but then seeing the second episode, I lost more faith in it, right? Like if Chief is walking around for his helmet off for like half the
Oh,
episode,
he better put that shit back on.
I'm not because that's like it's like I don't really they're like we want to show who John is and it's like sure, but John doesn't take off the fucking helmet. Like
No.
he doesn't take off the helmet. He even says it in the episode where he goes, "Everything that helps me functions through this helmet."
Yes.
There is not like the suit the suit that he wears, the armor that he wears protects him from gunfire, protects him from explosions, probably keeps him alive in certain degrees. It probably has other things that it does inside the suit and the armor and the body itself. But all of his information, all of his comms, everything runs through that helmet.
Right.
He doesn't take that off. That's not what you do. And like I said, like you said, for him taking it off in the first episode, it does feel shoehorned. It feels like really? He's taking his helmet off for this girl that he's known for maybe a day.
Yeah.
That threatened to shoot him when he could have simply just walked up to her, grabbed the gun as she was firing it, and snapped it over his knee. He doesn't. That's what Chief does. Chief is like, "You're not going to shoot me."
Yeah, no.
And she's like, "I'll shoot you. I'll kill you." And he goes, "This is Mjolnir, 6 armor."
That was a cool line.
And that's cool when he says that. But the fact that he takes off his helmet, and like I said to you when I first told you about it, when he takes his helmet off after that, it's cool when you see it. But then in your head, you're going like, "Really?"
He's a young, okay,
The chief,
young chief,
but Chief wouldn't take his helmet off for this.
That's not how I think Chief would even look. But that's us speculating on what their creative decisions are. So
well, this is young Chief, but how long has he been Chief for? Right? Like, how long has he been wearing the suit? How long has he been 117 in the sense of he's passed his training? Right?
The show doesn't tell you.
The show doesn't tell you, and honestly, man, if he's wearing this helmet all the time in space, and he's taking it off only in space and not when he's on Earth, he's not that tan.
And he's not that fucking good looking. I'm sure John's good looking, but there's no scars on his face.
Yeah.
He's not rugged.
He's a normal
He's
looking
a nice,
dude.
handsome looking dude.
The actor's a good looking guy, but and I don't think it was really his decision. I think it was more of just them not giving a shit. But he has to have scars.
I don't want to look like Deadpool, but
well, that's the thing, right? He's got a beard, and he's which I mean, I'd expect him to have somewhat of a beard because he's probably
Who fades the chief. Who gives the chief a fucking fade? You saw his haircut. Who fucking sits and fades the chief?
That's the quote on the box. Who fades the chief?
Well, he's like,
yeah.
What kind of fade do you want? I want a bald skin fade.
Yeah, he's like, I want the kill covenant fade, fam. Yeah, no, I agree with that. The haircut was a little bit funny to me. I was like, really?
It's a good haircut. But
I mean, it's a good haircut, but for the chief, does the chief have a fade?
Now that you're thinking about it too, you're fucking going, wow, this is goofier.
I mean, yeah. Does the chief have wouldn't the chief just have a buzz cut?
Yes. Or no hair because that fucking helmet and the can't. Stop. What was episode 1 about, Evan?
Telling himself to stop. Well, episode 1 was just, it was trying to set up the world, but it was, like you said, spending a little bit too much time on. I like hearing a little bit more of the political aspect, but it was spending a bit too much time on that. We only saw the Covenant really in 2 scenes. We saw him at the beginning, and then we saw when we see the Zealots. Who can I say the weird thing about that one? There's a human
Lady
there.
Gaga is just chilling there pretty much for some reason.
It's not Lady Gaga, but
looks like Lady Gaga,
bro. And apparently I read the plot or a synopsis of the show in that episode, and apparently she's just a human that was abducted by the Covenant, because that's what they do.
Humans barely traded with jackals in the series, just so you guys know. Anyways,
it deals a lot with this dumb admiral. This dumb admiral on Reach who constantly wants to control Chief as a weapon, and Dr. Halsey, who is British, who is typically not British in the series, basically is like, yeah, I can't believe he's acting this way, I'll stop him. But then every time Chief acts of his own volition, she's got this sly grin.
She gets wet.
Nick, come on.
You can see it in Halsey's fucking eyes. She's like,
no,
all right.
No,
she fucking
no,
does,
she's
bro.
not. She's not thinking that. No, she's not.
Joe is so weird. I'm getting mad.
Admiral Keyes and Miranda Keyes show up. They're not what you know as from the series in terms of who they are as characters. I'd say, because I don't.
Those two.
I did like those two. But I don't remember if does Miranda in the game, does she deal with the alien bodies or whatever? Is that what she
I
actually
don't
does? I can't
remember.
remember. Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like I don't remember if that's actually how they were. Um, it deals a lot with this chick, this girl named Kwan Ha, who is saved by the chief in the first little section of the episode. She is a freedom fighter. I don't know. That's what The Verge called her. She's an insurrectionist, according to the UNSC, um, who loses her whole family. Her father's killed. Everybody in her tribe or camp or whatever is killed. Their settlement, rather, they're all killed. Uh, she's like, wait, where are you going? Why are you leaving me? Chief doesn't answer her because he's a badass, and he leaves and he goes to check out this Covenant ship and find this artifact. And she follows them and busts her stupid ass on some rocks, gets knocked out. So now the chief has to take her and they lock her up. Miranda Keyes talks to her and says, it would really be nice if you put out a video showing what happened to you and your family, like your settlement, and what the Covenant did to show support, to like show these other settlements that we're not joking. And for whatever reason, she refuses and threatens instead to tell them everything else, to tell them that the Spartans did it, which makes no sense.
Yeah, okay, let's stop right there. That plot point,
that was moot.
It doesn't make sense to why. Yes, she has been her and her father and her tribe have been fighting against the UNSC their entire life. Cool, but what you're saying does not make sense because you now have physical proof of the Covenant, and they killed your father in front of you, not the chief.
Yeah, like she has seen what the Covenant has done, and she just flat out says, well, I'll rather tell them that like they're. And for whatever reason, Miranda, probably because she's younger at this point in time, which again, we don't know how long anybody's been really doing anything for. She kind of like freezes up and just hits end call, but not before she says like, well, we have everything recorded. So like, that's not like, you can't. And she's like, well, everybody, they all know that you can fake it. And it's like, Miranda, just tell her, just guilt her. Okay. You want to go out and say that shit? Wait till the other settlement happens and the Covenant kill them and, maim and butcher all the children and women and men, all the people like you, the people like your father. She didn't say any of that. She just said, bye, fam, and hung up the call. And her dad was like, yeah, shit's tough. It's like, no, it's not. Like,
thanks, Pops.
You have to do these things. And like, that's everything is oddly, it's like they set up this sense of the Covenant is the most dangerous thing that humanity has ever faced, which is true. At this point in time, anyway. Obviously the Flood, I would say, is probably more dangerous, but
we're the biggest danger to ourselves, man.
That was weirdly philosophical for a video game podcast. I'm flustered now.
Hey.
Yeah, mind blown. Like they set up this sense of everything is hinging on Chief stopping this.
Yeah.
And the Covenant is the greatest threat to humanity. And they set this up and that's the tone you feel, but then nobody's willing to make this sacrifice. Like
it's wild.
Admiral Keyes does not tell his daughter, like, what you did was fucked up, like the only person who seems to have any sort of grasp of that is, I can't remember her name, but the female admiral. I can't remember her, but then everything that she does in the sense of this is just stupid. Like, shut Chief down. We can't, like, she thinks that Chief is coming to kill them all because he saves this girl's life, because this girl, which this is another big point,
on Kwan
is a bit too much.
It doesn't.
I don't know why. I don't know why they need to have.
I don't want this character. I want Chief.
Yeah, I don't think. No, it's not her fault. I don't think it's her fault at all. I don't think it has anything really to do with her. And before anybody in the comments wants to be like, well, what if it was a kid? What if it was a boy? It's still no.
I wouldn't want him either.
I wouldn't want anybody. I want the Chief. I want Chief and Cortana.
That's the Arbiter.
Yeah, I want the shit that the games are based off of. I don't want, and I've said this before, and before anybody says anything, no, I don't want a direct recreation of the games.
No.
But I don't want you to completely stray away from them to the point where it's like, why are these characters here? Why are they important? Like, why is Kwan important? Does Kwan have anything to offer in this war? She's a regular human. As far as I know, she can't become a Spartan.
No,
she has
that program's ended.
Yeah, and as far as we know, she has no knowledgeable skills when it comes to science or any sort of AI technology or anything like that, or studying alien languages. Hell, she doesn't even believe that the Covenant exists until they kill her family.
She
Like,
still tried to deny it, but that's fine.
and then she still tries to deny it, which could be something about
That's like a
Survivor,
blackmail
you know.
type thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
it could be, yeah, it could just be something where in her head she's not fully accepting it yet, which is one thing or another, but it doesn't seem that way. They don't allude to the fact that she's just so distraught that she refuses to believe it. She completely goes in a 180 and says, "Well, no, I'll just say that you guys perpetuated this and Spartans went and killed my whole settlement." Why how does that benefit you? How does that benefit anybody? Like, that makes no sense.
No,
It
it's
doesn't
stupid.
work.
It's
And
stupid.
and Miranda, like I said, doesn't tell her, doesn't guilt her into saying like, "Well, guess what happens if you do that? The next settlement that they come across, everybody's going to die there. And you know what? They'll die thinking
She
that you were telling the
does
truth."
she does kinda say, "Think about the next settlement."
She does. All right, fine.
Well, she does
I'll
say it,
I'll, I'll
but
rescind that.
that's
I'll
not
rescind that.
enough. She could have gone further.
She
Like,
she could
"Alright,
have
well, you
gone.
you are the reason why this will never end, when we could
Yeah,
all work together."
and then here's the big point of this episode is that they put out I don't remember what it's called. It's called an Article 64 or something like that,
Kill the
which is
girl.
basically killer. And
Who cares? Who cares? She's a rebel. Just lock her in the fucking gulag.
like, yeah, I don't think necessarily that her dying is the
That
necessary
was
thing that
so
needs to
extreme.
happen.
It was
That
so
was like,
extreme.
it was like, yeah, like, do you need to kill her? But then it pops up on Chief's little visor of to kill her, and he doesn't even know her name. He's got all this technology, but then he asks her, he goes, "Hey, yo, bro, your name Quan Ha by chance?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's me." And he's like, "Oh shit, here we go again." Like, he didn't even know her name. Not and like he didn't ask her beforehand. He wasn't told her name. He obviously never asked her during the time that he was on board with her. But his helmet can't identify.
I don't like the whole UNSC putting this thing into the Chiefs helmet saying, "Hit, you're Hitman now." Not the
That's not
purpose of the
really.
Spartans. That's so low rank bullshit. Yeah, because
Well,
she's
and
on a
again,
ship, but
like you said, it's pretty extreme for them to go and say kill her.
like an
But
18-year-old
then
girl.
not even maybe she might just be, yeah, she might be like 16 or 17 at that
It's
point too, right?
stupid.
And that
It's
and yeah, and it makes no sense. And then on top of that, Chief is like, well, shit, I don't really know if I want to do that. And then he decides not to do that. So their response to that is cut the oxygen in the ship. And they cut the oxygen in the ship, so she passes out, and then they turn the oxygen down in his suit, so he passes out. And Halsey's like, just enough to make him pass out. I don't want to kill him. But then anytime that he has his own volition and comes up with his own ideas and like fixes the ship's oxygen, fixes his suit's oxygen, and they see him take his helmet off because they can see when he takes his helmet off, like
which
they can't
that
visually see him.
graphic was so the thermal imaging
Like,
thing
but all so like she says
so
turn off his
bad.
oxygen. She says turn it off to make him pass out so that way they can continue going on with this whole bullshit they have of killing this little
Yeah.
girl. But like every time he does something, Halsey's like, "Oh shit, he can do that shit. Look at that. I had no idea." It's like, "Yes, you did. You made him. Like
Yeah.
you created the motherfucker. Like you know he can do this shit." Like that's the thing, right? Is that like and this is coming from someone who is not the best of knowledge. I've played all of them, but I just don't have the best of knowledge just because it's been a while.
Yeah.
But like more often than not, Chief in the series is never really told a bad directive in terms of something like that. He's never told to kill humans.
He's
He's
fine
never
to go off
told
on his own though too. They
that,
know he'll do the right thing.
right. And like it's like they don't trust him. They don't trust. And again, we don't know how long it's been. We know it's long enough for him to have the 117 armor, obviously be Master Chief, and command his own little team of Spartans. But like they don't trust him enough to handle shit. They don't trust him enough for this. And again, like you said, what's the point in having him kill this girl? What's the point in killing this girl?
So extreme.
Like one loose end. Yeah, you could have just, educated her too.
If he did kill her, I'd be a lot happier because we wouldn't have to follow this weird uh, Muttley and fucking Dick Dastardly thing that's about to happen in the fucking Halo series.
I've never heard those words in that sentence.
Dick Dastardly and Muttley. It's an old cartoon.
Oh yeah,
Like
I
Rocky
have no
Bullwinkle
idea.
type shit.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't know. I know Rocky and Bullwinkle. I don't know
Yeah.
that.
But like that's this whole
But
like duo thing. That's fun.
it's
What is she gonna do for
yeah.
Chief?
She's gonna be the Elizabeth to his Booker.
Just push
Chief,
her.
catch!
Yeah, catch. Cool.
Found a
Thanks.
plasma grenade. Oh shit, it's live.
Thanks, nerd. Like,
why'd you throw that live to me, Quan? I didn't know how to activate it. Maybe you shouldn't be here. Like,
so like that whole thing, like that duo thing that they're doing with this, it's forced. Super.
It is forced. It shouldn't.
Tell.
Like, the only duo we need in a Halo series is
Chief and Cortana,
or
Chief and the Arbiter.
A trio. Chief, Cortana, and Sergeant Johnson.
Which we've still yet to even see him.
Yeah, we haven't seen Sergeant Johnson. In the trailer,
they do show him really quick.
He is there. Yeah.
I'm excited to see him. But how are they gonna fuck him up too? Is he not gonna be fucking tough and like?
He's not gonna be a hard ass drill sergeant.
Yeah. Like you're gonna make him just some soft dick? Like no. So like that's the first episode, right? And it ends off. Chief takes his helmet off. They
leaves it off for 10 minutes.
They get back on. They're on Reach at that point, right?
They land on Reach. They crash land on Reach, and for whatever reason, everybody, the entire UNSC, like an entire battalion, is sitting there waiting for Chief to open the door, ready to kill him. Mind you,
and the other Spartans are directed by Halsey to not. And if they fire on Chief, other Spartans kill the UNSC soldiers.
Yeah, and they can tell that too.
Been able to do.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a problem. But that's the funny thing is that they kind of make that obvious with how the Spartans are acting. The Spartans make it pretty clear to them, like,
oh yeah,
you shoot him, we shoot you, and we can promise you will lose.
The fucking Marines weren't even flinching like that though.
They're not afraid.
It doesn't make sense.
But then that's the thing too, is there's this weird disconnect because in the games it's pretty cut and dry. The Spartans are helping out Marines. And the Spartans are what the Marines cannot be, right? The Spartans are this addition that help the Marines do their job, and the Marines, like, if there is a symbiotic relationship there, they work together and it works, and they do that thing right.
Spartans, hell jumpers, Marines.
But then you have this weird dichotomy between the two now, where it's like the UNSC doesn't really trust Halsey and her experiments. They tell her to shut the Cortana program down, which she clearly doesn't do.
Which the Cortana program within itself is fucking weird.
This is like an actual live human.
We're in spoilers now, by the way. We helped them right when we're going to be ending the episode in here shortly. That was dumb. It's a fucking little.
It was like a little bald person, like inside a little pod.
You ever seen the movie Splice?
Yeah. Yep.
Just it's a fucking AI. Cortana is just AI of Halsey.
Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what the extra body was supposed to be.
Dude, why? Because they wanted to be cool, and they don't know anything about the source material. That's why. This is stupid. But
I don't get it.
Again, there are things I enjoyed because I've been waiting.
Because
that is unfair. It's unfucking fair. It's not that good. But it'll do right now. Because if it gets canceled, that's it. No more Halo.
Yeah, I mean,
So, whatever. That's episode 1, right? They fly away at the end.
Yep, they fly away. I was gonna do Sinatra there, but I failed it. Yeah, no, they I don't know how I feel about it now. Nick convinced me otherwise.
I didn't mean to fuck you up.
No, it's not a problem. I don't know what to. Yeah.
You're so depressed. Yeah.
He brought up a lot of good points. Like not that you don't, but like you brought up a lot of good points, and it's like that's. Fucks me up. You don't bring up bad points that often, or like you don't like really bring up anything bad. You bring up good points most of the time, but never typically where I'm like, oh shit, maybe I was fucking wrong about the whole thing. like that's how I feel now at this point. I was like, man, maybe I was a little bit too positive about this shit. Like
that's how I felt that I watched it again. I'm like, Wait a second,
Well,
I've
and
been duped.
I had you hyped up because I was like, man, some of this shit's so cool. And then you watched it, and I didn't even bring up the CGI. And then you watched it, and you're like, what the fuck is this new Craig bullshit of this rifle? And I was like, yeah, bro. Now that I think about it, I was pretty.
Holy
I went pretty
shit.
light on the shit that wasn't good, huh?
Holy
Yeah, no,
shit.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
there's
like, the
definitely
gun hits the ground and it just goes.
yeah,
Like,
like
what the fuck?
it
There's
was
no
this
weight to this thing.
record scratch noise.
We
It's
didn't
like,
even
yeah, no.
we didn't even talk about the unfinished fucking plasma pistol.
Oh yeah,
Did you see the picture?
yeah. I didn't look the picture up. I'll look it up right now so you get
There's
my
a
genuine reaction.
there's a picture of a prop that was in the episode, and it was an unfinished plasma pistol in the series. It's
Why am I
not.
getting? I don't care about the Reddit post about how its damages in the game. I want to
Oh,
see the.
oh my god, my fucking chest hurts from. I just
Hold
like.
on, Halo show.
Uh, yeah, Halo show unfinished.
Oh my god, it's
You see it? You
gray.
see it?
It's gray. It's gray.
I'll try to find the picture again.
Like not
Yeah,
gray like it's dusty. Like gray like they didn't color it.
yeah. It's not like it. At first, I was like, "Oh, holy shit!" At first, I thought maybe like, okay, the elite comes out of fucking like cloak, and that happened, and I'm like, no, it's just an unfinished prop.
Yeah,
Can we?
like that's
One thing.
yeah. They forgot. Yeah, the YouTube videos they forgot to paint it.
Yeah,
They
dude.
forgot to paint the pistol.
So one thing I wanted to bring up was that they go into first person a lot with Master Chief.
They do when he's in the middle of the fight and like and in the later scenes as well.
So it
Yeah,
works for 1 second, and then they just kept going to it, and I was like, "Listen, they did it in the Doom movie, and it didn't work because it's so jarring."
it's disorienting to a degree.
Because
I can
like
see what you mean.
when he pulls up the assault rifle in there, it's just like this narrow fucking weapon, and the CGI looks like something from like Halo 3, and I was like, "Holy
Well,
shit!"
and you can also imagine as well that if you were Master Chief, that is not how shit would look. Like
No, no, that's
like
too.
they make it like best way of putting it is that they give you a first person view, but it's not the actual view that you yourself would have. They give you a first person view of how the games look, but they don't give you a first person view as to how you physically look
Oh, it's.
through a gun's sights, right? Like he's just hip firing at that point. Like there's no sight he's looking through on the gun, right?
I
He's
found
just
pictures. I'll have to show you after we finish the episode, which we're almost done, guys. But holy shit!
it's yeah, no, there are definitely some things that don't work with it. And honestly, I got to thank Nick here for bringing them up because honestly, I probably wouldn't mention them all that much if it were anything else, right? Like, but there are a lot of good points here that, like, yeah, there are things that just don't need to exist here. Like, we don't need a duo. We don't need a
I just
human
need
to
the Master
Spartan duo.
Chief.
We just, yeah, and hopefully that's what it is by the end of it or by the, end of the season. But like, realistically, this is coolest things that happen, and it's like nostalgic to see it on a screen and like a TV show. But then it becomes that thing that you don't really want.
No,
Like
no.
there's this human duo that doesn't need to exist. There's a whole lot more political aspect and almost showing that the UNSC is a bad entity. Which, while I'm sure like most entities like that can have its shady moments and have its dark days, overall in the show or in the game, they're the force for good, and that's what they should have just been from the start. Is like, yeah, do they have some questionable things sometimes? Sure, but like, really, this 17-year-old girl that's saying she wants to tell the whole human race about how bad the UNSC is, which is clearly a lie that they can totally fake, which she points out. She says, who knows what you can fake, and they can be like, this is just real footage before she
Yeah.
even says anything. Like she can just say that they could just upload it without her, like while she's still in that little cell. But instead, this admiral just goes, "I want you to kill her." It's like, Chief, if I were Chief, I would have just gone on the comms and been like, "Bro, are you serious?
Yeah, like
Like,
that's extreme, man.
are you kidding me?" And you know what? Maybe that's what they're trying to set up too. But again, I still don't think it works. Is
No,
they're trying to set up
no.
they're trying to set up this whole thing of like how they're bad, and like Chief is just this mindless dog, and which is like what he proves wrong in this, where he just goes like, no, fuck you, I'm not going to kill this kid. If it
Yeah.
were really Chief would have been like, I'm not doing that. He wouldn't have just cut comms and let them turn off the oxygen and like all that kind of shit. He would have just said, no, I'm not doing that. But
Yeah.
then they've set this whole thing up of Chief is humanity's greatest weapon, but he has to be controlled like he's some sort of dog that's just going to go wild and bite its owner,
It's
which is
dumb.
not what Chief is. Chief
It's
has
dumb.
never been that way. Chief has only killed people like that if he has seen that, like if he knows that they're betraying people. And
Right.
he's human in the games. He cares about his soldiers. He takes a personal responsibility for when people die.
Yeah.
He's not like just a machine that has to finish the mission. He understands that that's the goal, and when he's in private or when he's done, he probably takes time to grieve. But he's not just somebody who like can watch a whole bunch of Marines get gunned down and just go like, especially Marines under his command, and go, get me another pair. He's not like
No.
that.
I mean, he'll
And
keep
they
going until the mission is over, but I'm sure
but
it weighs heavy.
he takes the time after the fact when he's got some downtime, I'm sure, to go and visit all their memorials or like to visit like a wall where all their names are at, right, and pay some
Right.
respects. He's
So
not somebody who just continues, and yet they seem to portray him as this thing, and he's not. He's a super soldier. He's humanity's last hope, their greatest weapon. But they keep portraying it as he's that, but he's also potentially unstable. And the UNSC doesn't trust him. And it's
yeah.
like, really? Let's look at how long he's been with the UNSC. But
Yeah.
we don't know.
Yeah.
We know that clearly the Reach still exists.
Yeah. Whatever. All right. We calling it? Are we calling
Yeah,
it?
Nick's blood
Oh
pressure
my
is really
God,
high right
dude.
now.
Listen. Last thing. Where would you 1 to 10 right now? Episode 1.
Shit, bro. I was gonna say 8 at the start, but now fuck.
I'm giving it a 5. It's not a
I'll give it like a 5. Yeah, I'll give it like a
it's
5.5, maybe a
not a
6.
complete bomb. It's also not running with me though. So by episode
Yeah.
2, if it's fucked, which I've heard it's just worse, we have to watch it all. Unfortunately, we've already dedicated an entire series to it. We're fucked.
My neck hurts.
All right. So, all right, guys. WASD gave it a halfway point.
Yeah, like it's a mediocre.
Check it out if you want to. If you don't rush to see it.
Yeah.
So fuck, I wanted this to be a lot better than what it was. God damn it, Halo. I don't know. All right, guys, we'll see you guys on Wednesday for a hot fix.
Yeah.
Diggity is on Thursday. Build Bros is on Thursday. OBO is getting reworked right now and redone and structured. The website for Spawn Camp is out. Go check that out. Spawncamp.co. We are sponsored by Doc Longy and Final Boss. Check our sponsors out. They both have amazing drops. Final Boss has GTA. Doc Longy has MF Doom and The Streets right now. Amazing shit. Till next time, guys. Take it easy. Be safe. Stay healthy. Stop praising the Halo show because it kind of sucks. Take it easy.
Bye.